It's Monday, February 10th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, technology in sports. Sports technology.
Let's do this.
I've been skiing a lot this winter, and finally, I have someone else to ski with. Emily has been skiing with me, and she's gotten to the point to where she can go on the big mountain. Like, she has progressed from beginner skier to competent skier.
All right, next step, graveyard.
Yeah. The thing is, it means she can go on the...
Perhaps hospital.
So last time we went skiing, actually, like, I got her private lesson, and I got to say, in terms of learning a nuanced physical skill, nothing really beats a private lesson with someone who's an expert at teaching that thing.
It's so weird because, like, when I was a kid, I had plenty of lessons and all kinds of things.
Probably from people who weren't actually professionals.
There were people who were way better than I was, but the thing is,
better at the thing does not mean a professional instructor.
The point is, as a kid, it's just like it didn't matter what the instructor was. I didn't fucking pay attention and follow instructions properly. But now that I'm adult, it's like I feel like, aha, if someone tells me what to do, I can do exactly what they tell me.
Maybe
to
you
do.
were just dumb, because when I was a kid and I got like swimming lessons, like I paid a lot of attention to what the instructor was saying and I tried to do it.
I think I got bored with things like swimming lessons because it's like I already sort of knew how to swim, and they were like, kick, and I was like, yeah, I've been kicking in a pool for like 10 years.
Well, obviously you weren't kicking right if they were telling you to kick.
All they said was kick, and it's like, yeah, look at me.
See,
kick.
I think that there's a very simple issue here. There's a fundamental issue. If you're a kid and you clearly know more or feel like you know more than an instructor, you won't listen to anything they say and you won't respect them. And I think this is complemented by the fact that most people who are paid money to teach kids things outside of a school, and oftentimes in a school, not actually good at teaching that thing, and often not that good at that thing.
I think another aspect is that when you're a kid, you're not paying that person. If as an adult, if I get a lesson, I'm paying that person for the lesson. So
I was paying, college. I was paying that professor to teach the class that I skipped. I was paying a lot of money for that. I would think about how much money that credit hour cost when I walked out of that class.
Anyway.
The money is not the factor.
So yeah, I mean, if you pay for a specific thing, right? I suppose just college, right? You weren't. If you had paid for like one class, like I want to learn.
But I
this
could
thing.
break down. I was paying for that one class.
Sure.
I could have taken a different class. In fact, I was paying the same no matter how many credit hours I took over 12. So if I didn't take that extra 4 credit hours, I was just pissing away money.
Anyway.
But yeah, instructors. But I've also noticed that the group lessons for things like this. So if you go to a place where you're going to learn a skill, like a ski lodge is a great example, because they have like usually group lessons where like you go to a group and based on your ability and then they teach. Other than at the top levels, the lessons are almost garbage usually because the other people are just really extra bad or extra not paying attention. So
It's the same feeling you get when you have to play a board game and someone playing the board game is really dumb or slow or doesn't understand the rules. It's the same idea when you're in a group lesson and the other people are holding back the whole group.
Yeah. So the moral is get private lessons and get private board game time with people like us. Maybe we should do that at a con.
No, because you're the dumb person who's going to fuck it up.
Scott, at a con, let's charge people to play games with us.
So we sit at a table and we say, if you want to play with us,
we will play.
$5.
Here's a list of games we know. We will play good, fast, skilled games for $80 an hour.
Okay. What if the person who plays sucks?
Then it's going to take 4 fucking hours.
That's going to reduce our income.
Yeah, this would only work if it'd basically be our equivalent of wasting our day at Artist Alley.
Get more games in for more money.
Yeah. It depends. Do you want to make money or do you want to have fun? Seems like a lot of people who are like Artist Alleying it up tend to want to make money rather than have fun. Anyway, I digress. That was my opening bit.
Okay.
Now we can move on to the news bit.
Just a tiny news because there isn't really much news going on.
It's fine. I got a shit ton of news.
All right. So apparently, if you look at the biggest websites in the world, not in terms of the number of users or the number of visitors or the number of web visits or any shit like that, if you look in terms of which company is using the most internet bandwidth, number one, at least in the United States, I'm pretty sure I don't know if this is US or world, but Netflix, 32%. Google,
I would easily believe that.
Google, 22%. Apple 4.3, and I guess that's including like all the stuff iPhones are doing, right? Because they always have to talk to Apple. They can't talk directly to who they're talking to.
Yep.
Number 4, above Facebook, above Hulu, above Valve, above Amazon, above Pandora and Tumblr, right? In terms of how much percentage of U.S. peak internet traffic produced by companies' networks, number 4 is Twitch.
Not bad.
There is that much game streaming now going on.
There is a big culture of share what you're doing with like the 3 people
I think
who
it
care.
was pushed on by the fact the Xbone and the PS4 can just stream to Twitch, right?
Yep.
That helped it out a lot, but it's awesome. It's good stuff.
It's awesome, but at the same time, I find watching these things to be usually awful.
That's why you got to find the good ones, like Fast Karate Channel.
Yeah, or perhaps Rim and Scott playing Nidhogg, even though apparently that disappeared. Thanks, Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know. I had Twitch is supposed to. They said we're not automatically archiving your things anymore, but go to your settings and turn this thing on so they auto archive. And I did that, and I guess I just discovered right now they're not auto archiving.
Yeah, so sorry guys, you don't get to watch the awesome Nidhogg stream we did.
Yeah, where I won a whole bunch. So Rim couldn't even defeat me even once. His swords just got dodged and blocked.
Yeah, in fact,
Didn't
you're
even
so
touch
good
me.
that we should play live at a convention and show everyone how good you are.
Sure. But yeah.
Scott's terrible
Screw
at
you,
Nidhogg.
Twitch, for lying.
Yeah, we'll see what's up. We'll figure it out. So, actually, another meta bit. It arrived today. I got my titanium lens frames to put my prescription lenses in for Google Glass.
But there's no lenses in them.
Yeah, I got to go to an optician to get lenses in.
Okay.
They come with lenses that don't do anything.
Oh, I could wear those.
You could, if you want to have the aesthetic of wearing glasses, all the pain in the ass of glasses with none of the benefits, then that's your option. So, in the news, it was leaked that the New York Police Department is evaluating using Google Glass for its investigative and/or patrol officers.
How is that going to help?
I think it'd help pretty well. One, it doesn't replace. The thing is, everyone expects this to be used to video everything the cops do.
No.
Glass is terrible at that.
Stop. Everyone thinks Glass can do that. They're all morons.
Well, it could if you hack it together with like a fucking battery plugged in.
It doesn't have enough storage.
It has enough storage for an entire day. It compresses the video to shit.
I'm just saying.
I have investigated.
You got all the
this.
other shit on your Glass too, filling up storage space.
The only thing taking up any space is pictures. That's 99% of the space. Pictures and videos. Anyway, there is already technology that exists to be a dash cam for a cop. That's not what Glass would be good for.
It's a separate technology anyway.
But they're basically all they're doing. They're not saying they're going to use it. What they're doing is they're saying we're going to look at it to see if anything it does now could be useful for law enforcement, and simultaneously we're going to see if there's anything we could come up with after officers use it and like see what it's like, if we could write software that would be useful. So they're doing exactly what everyone should do when there's technology like this. Evaluate it to see if there's use cases that are worth pursuing.
Why is that in news? Someone is evaluating a technology.
Well, partly because it was leaked. And
it was
partly
a secret that they were evaluating a technology.
And partly because a lot of people seem to be really mad about it. They're like, now the cops are going to have video. It's like, yes, I want the cops to have video of everything they do. That way when they beat someone up, there's video of it.
Cops. Bad boys.
Or the cops might look me up and investigate me. It's like, yeah, if I'm getting arrested, I'd like them to be able to easily, on the fly, figure out if I'm armed and dangerous or not.
Glass cops.
I could come up with a lot of really good things that you could do if you wrote good software for cops to use with Glass. I don't think that good software will ever be written.
If there's an emergency, immediately they see an alert on the glass and the map shows up telling them where to go. And
so imagine this.
Shows them a picture of the suspect and then...
Yeah, or imagine this. Let's say you are driving to the scene of
a cop's driving around town, a convenience store, the alarm goes off. Immediately he sees, convenience store robbery in progress, address, map, and then he sees the live footage from the cameras.
From the helicopter.
From the helicopter or the cameras in the convenience store.
But think about that. If you had Glass on showing you the live feed from the IR helicopter while you're walking through the woods chasing a guy, that's all right. That's some Ghost in the Shell shit right there.
That's right.
Or imagine, here's my dream app. I'll share my dream app with you. I've been thinking a lot about how to make Glass useful. Imagine if a cop could be like, okay, Glass, what are the laws about possession, marijuana?
Yep.
And then it just shows the current law right there while he's like handcuffed.
The cop is like, Google, is it legal? Is it illegal to take pictures of the subway? No.
Yep.
Just like, well, fuck.
Of course, then he'll just get no connection to Google Cloud.
Oh, I'm in a train. That's a problem. Anyway.
But the biggest one is if they finally do the facial recognition. Imagine if you're arresting someone, right? Or you're talking to someone. Like you pull someone over, you detain a suspicious
3
individual.
warrants, crazy drug dealer.
Yep.
Crazy murderer.
It's the Schmods computer.
Watch out for this dude.
From the Blues Brothers.
You even if you approach someone who's not, illegal or anything, like, oh, there's a guy walking around town with a gun, just walk past him and it says, Joe Blow has
outstanding warrants.
Has permit, is totally cool. Ignore this guy. Don't even bother him. Just say, hey, Joe, what's going on? And keep going. Don't even have to stop him and question him or make, because he's a crazy libertarian who's in the, he's legally right and you're just going to make a fight with him. So just don't do anything.
Yep. You could do really cool stuff with this technology, but guys, I bring this up because everyone's making this mistake. Focus on the screen, not the fucking camera. Jesus. It's like, if you're going to talk about future sci-fi awesome stuff, at least focus on actual cool, awesome sci-fi future stuff. Wearing a camera that always records everything has been possible for a decade.
Yep.
Nothing new is happening there, at least in regards to Google Glass.
We've said this about 100 times.
Also, I think this is cool. I want to see if they actually come up with something, though
How about all the things I just said?
I am 100% convinced that they will not come up with anything interesting, and that if they do, they will spend a ton of money to develop software that doesn't work, and then it'll be called a failure years later.
Anyway.
Because that's how government contracts work with that stuff. But anyway, things of the day. So a coworker pointed this out to me. So you're familiar with yeshivish?
I know what a yeshiva is. It's a school where the Orthodox Jew kids go.
Yep. So yeshivish is a sort of dialect, or according to Wikipedia, a sociolect of Yiddish and English that's spoken basically in the yeshivas.
So it's
in the more Orthodox.
It's how yeshiva kids talk to each other in
basically,
school.
Yeah. Like the yeshiva kids and their dads in like the more farther Orthodox communities will speak in this sort of dialect that's kind of like franglais, like it's halfway between Yiddish and English.
All right.
And it's an interesting dialect. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can learn about sociolects. I mean, me and Scott and the Front Row crew effectively have a sociolect around caveman talk and dojing and things. So there's a sea of Wikipedia that I'm going to point you in the direction of that you might find fascinating. But this here is a pretty famous document in Yeshivish. It's the Gettysburg Address translated into Yeshivish.
Okay.
And it's delightful to read. I almost want to read it because it's funny and cool, but at the same time, I do not pronounce Yiddish words well at all. But it's just, let's see, the Gettysburg Address. Berek a yovel and a half ago, the Mishadim shelled effect this Makam Anaya Malkus with the Kavana.
That's so bad.
How do you want?
Can you at least try?
I am trying.
No, you're not.
I have a genetic undisposition toward this. There's a funny part at the end that Hashem should give the Gansi Oilim Anaya Brenacheres, that the nation that shams by the Oilim, by the Oilim, by the Oilim will bloodfest ad Oilim. Because Yiddish is kind of Germanic. So of the people, by the people, for the people basically becomes by the Oilim, by the Oilim, by the Oilim.
Okay.
This is funny and you should read it and then learn all about this cool stuff.
So we're talking about sports technologies.
Also, Captain, if I should send you this and we'll record you reading it.
All right, it'll sound right.
Yeah, maybe it will.
Speaking of sports technologies, this guy bought a 3D printer, or at least he bought 3D printer parts, but he didn't make a 3D printer. He made an air hockey robot. Can't beat it at air hockey. So good. Sports technology. Air hockey's the best. Oh my God, air hockey.
Yeah, this is pretty great. I wonder if you
The end.
I don't think a human could beat this, but at the same time, he was not attempting to get much velocity out of that puck there.
I don't know. It moves pretty fast.
One, he was not using a tournament grip. He was using that hold the joystick. He was using the dick grip instead of the finger grip.
Well, let's go get a full photon table, make a big one of these things, and see what happens.
Thing is, I'm pretty
sure...
You
got really powerful motors to it, too, so we can go whoosh, 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 whoosh.
I'm pretty sure even this project, just built with hardier materials on a real table, no human could beat it. At best, you could get a draw, I would suspect.
Maybe. Well, you came up with your strategy of instead of it, detecting where the puck is and moving to block it,
Just vibrate.
just stand it completely in front of the goal and move back and forth ridiculously fast so that there is no time window period in which a puck could get through without being touched and deflected.
And basically always
So
do
basically
that
all you would
unless I have a clear firing solution and then suddenly strike the puck with such speed that it will just immediately go into the goal and the human can't do anything about it.
Faster than a human can possibly react to stop it.
I guess you could hit it hard enough to make it like a bullet so
Right,
it goes
now-
through the player's
Now, what if we have
hand.
two of such robots play against each other?
I would watch that like an Olympic sport.
And they're both set to, have perfect defense, no matter what, and also attack as violently as possible whenever possible without sacrificing your ultimate defense.
You know what that's like,
strategy.
Scott? That's because I've been reading all these culture books. That's like two equiv-tech civilizations having a war.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to watch it.
All right.
I would love to. It's like watching like the ping pong championships.
Why don't we, remember that rock, paper, scissors robot that would cheat?
Yeah.
What if we had it play against itself?
I wondered that. I think I even posited that question when we talked about that robot.
Anyway.
It'd come down to who has the
Meta-
faster processor.
Meta moments. Conventions are actually coming up really soon. Did you know Anime Boston was next month?
Yeah, we got to get on our fucking panels.
What is our panels?
I don't remember. We're doing a bunch of panels in Anime Boston, guys.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't think we wrote a new one though.
Okay.
Oh no, we wrote one. It's the one anime that aren't what they seem.
Okay. I
Like
don't even know what you
Trigun
just said.
seems silly, but it's actually about pacifism.
All right, well, you're taking care of that.
I'll take care of that one.
All right.
PAX East, we got a panel at.
That's good.
I don't think it's announced yet. I don't know if we're allowed. We're,
Hey,
whatever.
we're going to be there. Come on.
We're enforcing. We're gonna be there doing stuff. It's PAX East. No one we know is going except fellow enforcers and speakers because no one we know could get badges.
That's
so
a shame.
Our entire friend group, except for the people who are enforcing or are guests alongside us, is not going to PAX East possibly ever again.
Oh, that's their problem.
Yeah,
Their
that's
loss.
It's hard to get badges. I don't know what you do about it. We're gonna be at MagFest, but that's a ways from now.
Kineticon, while it's still a ways off, there is much preparation
Yeah,
for
we're
it.
already scheduling panels. If you want to do a panel, submit it fucking now. Time slots are disappearing, kids.
Other non-convention meta stuff.
ZengaiCon we're going to. I forget what
Who
we're doing at
cares?
that con.
Who cares? Don't go to that.
Someone might care.
Don't go to that
Dude.
unless you're super desperate.
If you go to ZengaiCon, you're a Geeknights listener, so I want you to go because we're going to do all our panels, and the rest of the time, we're going to go hide in a corner and play German board games. So we want
You're
listeners
gonna go watch
to come play German board games with us.
hockey at some bar.
We'll go watch hockey at a bar, but we'll also play German board games.
Maybe. Go to not be able to get breakfast because Panera is the only thing.
You know, if we'd gotten up before like 11 a.m., we probably could have gotten
Why
a
the fuck?
fake bagel.
Why would we do that?
Yeah. Seriously, I don't think you guys understand how cranky Scott gets if he can't get a bagel and some cream cheese in the morning. What do you mean you don't have bagels? The fuck? New York, I could have gotten a bagel. Seriously, Jesus.
not New
Fuck
York,
this
it's-
place. Fuck this town.
Listen, a vampire can't go too far from his coffin. A New Yorker, the coffin's like New York. Like, you can't go too far away. It's bad news.
Vampires. Oh my God, rice. How many grains are there?
Ah.
The book club book is Wool by Hugh Howey.
Like the shit
Howie.
you take off of lambs and make sweaters out of.
I know almost nothing about it except that so many people recommended it to me that I either want to read this
And we
really
got a
good book.
pile of free copies from who the fuck knows where.
I have at least 3 copies of this book.
None of which you have paid or asked for.
One of them is signed by the author.
Okay, give me one of them.
So I got to find them. They're buried
I might even
somewhere.
actually still have one.
You might.
I should check before I take another one because I know I'll never be able to give it back.
Yeah. Either it's going to be great or I'm going to piss all over someone's parade.
Okay.
As has happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? YouTube, we got stuff. Geeknights Presents Utena has resumed.
We have YouTube channels. We have fucking Tumbles and Twits and Faceboxes and G Pluses and pretty much every possible imaginable thing. Go to all those places and do the things at those places on the internet.
Yes, and link
If
to
you're
those
not
things.
on the internet, how the hell are you listening to this right now?
And link to those things on whatever Reddit cave you hide in. Because
Yeah,
I found
go-
that
promote
if
us.
if I post a new thing about gaming and I go to a gaming subreddit and post, a thing, I get down mod like, yeah, don't promote your own shit. Ugh. But if someone else who isn't me posts the same thing, it gets upvoted and everyone's like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, a few people have been occasionally like posting links to our stuff on Reddits and other places. And when they do, we get some traffic. So go to all the places on the internet that you go and promote us for free. For absolutely no compensation whatsoever, and just
compensation will be
a shameless and dirty shill for our benefit.
1, it'll warm the cockles of your heart by doing that for us.
You
and
might
2,
get some karmas if it gets upvoted, but based on our content, you'll be leeching off of us to get pointless internet smiley points.
But if you do this and our stuff gets more popular, we'll do more stuff faster. We could be done with that.
It's possible if everyone promotes us enough that we would get so ridiculously popular that someone would pay us to do stuff when we could quit and do stuff all day.
Yeah, guys, you realize if
you're holding us back for not promoting us enough, not because we suck.
If this was my job,
not because our shit's not good enough.
We'd have an episode.
You are not giving us free advertising and social karmas.
We do an episode of that Utena show like every 2 days. we would make a lot of stuff.
Anyway.
But no, instead, you
I have
guys
to go to work every day.
You guys can watch PewDiePie or whatever.
All right.
So, sports technology.
There is so much sports technology.
The conversation Scott and I had was basically, what do we do this show on? I was like, I don't know. What about sports technology? Okay, I guess that's
I felt
our
like we had done it
people.
already, and I know we've talked about some topics in the past, perhaps as newses. Like, I feel like we talked about those Olympic super bathing suits before, at least
We
once.
have, but we've always
and we've talked
about them.
soccer replay and stuff like that.
But we always talk about it from the game perspective. How does it affect the game? The game theory, the game.
It's going to be
play
hard
win the
not to talk
game.
about that. You're going to talk about that, I guarantee, within the next 10 minutes.
I will, but we're going to focus.
You're not even denying.
We're going to focus more on the tech because basically then we stopped chatting and then we both were like, okay, I got a lot to say. Because I realized pretty immediately that sports are literally made by their limitations in such a fundamental way that a sport that does not have arbitrary limitations on the aids and technologies that can be used becomes a meaningless sport immediately.
Well, you know, I kind of want to see a sport sometimes where it's like you can do whatever the hell you want, right? It's like
so I murder the team the night before in their
Okay.
bus.
I mean, like in terms
You
of
gotta have limitations.
like you can use any equipment you want, right? So it's like
guns. The batter comes up, just shoots the pitcher, and then runs after he dropped the ball.
You know, but it's like, you know, imagine F1. F1 has a ridiculous number of rules about how the car has to be designed. Imagine if the rule was it has to be a car, right?
Imagine if the rule was
suddenly driving no longer matters and engineering is the only thing that matters. And already it's at a state, even with all the restrictions, where engineering matters perhaps more than driving, right?
Well, engineering definitely matters more than driving.
But if you look at
as
others,
skilled as these drivers are, it's the teams that win with their better management and technology.
Right. So, but I mean, if you look at something like baseball, it's like, okay, baseball, technology matters, I guess, some amount greater than zero, but mostly it's the person, right?
Why is that the case?
Because it is so restricted on what technology you can use. It's like you can't do anything to the ball. Everyone has to use the same goddamn ball. The limitations on bats are extremely strict.
Yeah, imagine if I could just use an aluminum bat.
Boom.
Like what? Yeah.
You could just use any bat you wanted, like some ridiculous carbon fiber, titanium, who knows what bat with springs in it, or some, you know, and you could use any ball you want. Use like a tennis ball.
What if I wear shoes that are just so big that after I hit the ball, I just lean my toe forward and I hit first base?
Clown shoes?
Yeah.
So like the end of the shoes are in the dugout, and you just sort of tilt your shoe to the right, and suddenly
I'm on first base.
I'm first.
Not going to make it to second.
You had springs in your shoes, so as soon as you hit the ball, you jump and you launch in the air like a trampoline
And just land on first base.
And then you go boingy and you land on second base, boingy, third base, boingy, home plate.
What if I just wear armor with spikes and just charge the guy at first base?
Right.
Well, I guess no, because if he catches it, I'm out no matter what. It would only work
Right.
charging second or third base.
Sure, but there are other sports, you know, where the technology doesn't dominate the physical ability, but it matters. Something like golf, right? In golf, you know, for me, it doesn't matter what the fuck golf clubs I use. I suck, right? So it's not. I could take Tiger Woods' own golf bag, and I'm not gonna win shit. Tiger Woods is even winning shit with his golf bag lately, right? But if you're good, if you're good enough at golf to where your skill is really high, suddenly the changing clubs can actually make a difference. Like getting a lighter club or one with, a better head or something is going to maybe give you an extra 10 yards on the drive or whatever. And that can make a difference in winning and losing. Save you a stroke here, a stroke there. All right. Bowling, it's like changing which ball you're using could matter significantly. If you're already good at bowling, changing your ball starts to matter. It's not like I can take the champion's bowling ball and win, because human ability matters more, but it's not the technology doesn't matter whatsoever. The Olympic bathing suits, you already talked about those long ago, right?
So some sports, it seems every sport is different. So some sports are really restricting technology to focus on the human competition, but then the human competition becomes almost the technology of training and engineering humans, which is also technology. I mean, look at the monsters we breed to compete in highly specialized professional sports.
Yep.
Now, we don't breed them in vets yet, but that will happen probably in our lifetime.
Yeah.
If not in vets, then at least through sort of positive eugenics programs. I say positive as opposed to negative. Positive meaning encouraging certain breeding patterns as opposed to negative of kill the babies Sparta style.
I mean, basically, for football, I know a lot of football players like Samoans. There's like I think there's a documentary about like how they basically breed football players in Samoa.
Or look at biking. No amount of training. If you get equivalent training, the only determining factors in bicycle races, long-distance races, are either luck, as in equipment failure, or someone hits you or something crazy, or your legs are this slightly longer, or your lungs are slightly bigger, or you have a freakish amount of red blood cells, or you dope, or you do steroids.
Yeah, everyone talks about Lance Armstrong's cheating, right? But think about it. He cheated and won when everyone else also cheated. It wasn't like he was the only cheater, right? And he won every single goddamn time. If no one cheated, he probably also would have won every single time because his body is freakish like that.
Yep.
Right?
So the technology of sports is also the technology of training humans. I mean, Olympic athletes, the intervals for some of these events have come down to random chance as to who wins. Mm-hmm. Like, it's the start of a lot of these short foot races matter more than any amount of training or skill.
Yep.
I guess this training and skill of being able to anticipate and do the start without fouling it.
Well, I mean, Usain Bolt is just, freakishly large, right? I mean, it's he's had the same training as everyone else, right? But he wins every time. Well, he wins almost every time just because that's, genetics are mattered more.
So, what'll happen, like, technology-wise, we limit these sports from external chemicals, and we limit them from technology and equipment outside of the bounds of a very limited set. It's sort of a prescriptive designation, like in baseball. A baseball bat is defined by X, and you may not deviate from it by more than Y and Z.
Yep.
But there are no rules about the genetic side of it, or scouting people who have freakish qualities that would make them better at the sport fundamentally. But that is also technology of being able to find and train those people.
Yeah. And there's also no rules about breeding the people. It's just you can't use certain chemicals on your body after you're born, but it didn't say anything about like, hey, let's get, they do it for horses, right? They already do it for horses. There's no rule against doing it for people, but just people don't, or at least haven't yet.
I think a lot of people would have ethical concerns about it, but if you wanted to make money, should probably make a company that finds people who are good at football or have the physical attributes that make them predisposed toward being good at football, and come up with programs to get them to marry, form couples, have babies, and then train those babies basically their entire lives for a shot at being in Major League Football.
No, what they should do is you should basically get them to sign a bunch of papers giving you that, you basically make the baby in a test tube by borrowing genetics from those people.
I think there's laws against that right now.
And they sign the baby over to your company. It's now.
Yeah, see, I was trying to come up with a business model that wouldn't immediately get crucified in the media.
Your company is now the, legal guardian of these babies. And then you raise them in football school, and that's your company is this football school. And then they, the babies, while they're still, when they make money, you take a percentage of the money they make because you're their agent.
Now, there's also there's a subtle thing that it's subtle in some sports that people seem to forget how goddamn dangerous most sports were, even as recently as 40 and 50 years ago. Like football is probably more dangerous now, but that's a separate thing.
Safety in sports is actually relatively recent. Like there's been concern for safety perhaps my whole life, even when I was in school playing sports, but most sports, even in the 80s and 90s, were ridiculously dangerous.
Look at old-timey car racing.
When I watched NASCAR in the 90s, people were getting killed, right? And ridiculous, crazy crashes.
What about the ground effects era in F1?
Right. It's just they went for winning for the sake of safety. The hockey, people in my lifetime played ice hockey with no helmets.
Yeah. No helmets. Not like no face masks, which was later, but that was also true. Like, when I saw hockey games, almost no one wore face masks when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's like helmets.
Except the goalie.
Helmets were added to hockey within my life.
Face masks were added to goalies not that long ago.
Right.
And the old face masks didn't work so well.
No.
There was a time.
The Jason style, I dare you to wear that and play hockey.
Oh my God. You would if a modern hockey player wore the Jason mask in a modern hockey game.
And a puck hit him in the face.
They would spend most of their time dodging pucks rather than trying to stop them.
Did you know that one of the rules of Olympic hockey that differs from regular NHL hockey is that if the puck hits the goalie in the face mask, that you stop play?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say that's BS, but at the same time, that's probably better.
There's an interesting thing that lists like all the differences between Olympic hockey and NHL hockey, and Olympic hockey is pretty much just better.
Yeah, in almost every way.
In almost every way.
Is it still? I remember there was a point where I think it was actually a wider hockey
It is
arena.
wider.
It's still wider.
It's bigger, yeah.
Okay, because I remember during the trap era of hockey, watching games and being so frustrated, and then thinking about Olympic hockey and realizing that kind of fixed that problem.
Olympic hockey is just bigger ice.
Yeah. Wider ice. Longer ice would not make for a more interesting game, but wider ice certainly does.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, bicycling we talked about a bit already, but the technology in bicycling actually is pretty significant.
Well, remember the famous story of before modern bikes? I mean, you had penny farthings, which were just death traps. Just bicycling used to have a reputation for being one of the more deadly and ridiculously stupid things a young man could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
And when the modern bicycle was invented, people scoffed at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a woman beat the best bicyclist in the world trivially with a modern bicycle.
Gears.
Yeah, having gears literally made her the best bicyclist in the entire world.
Right. But yeah, it's like, so, they keep developing technology of bikes, but they don't allow all those technologies in, say, the Tour de France. It's like they have like minimum weights and stuff, even though we could make some lighter bike that was like 100% carbon fiber ridiculousness.
Yeah, well, tennis has that. I for a long time, used a tennis racket that would not be legal for tournaments. Wouldn't be legal in a real competition, but they sold it.
Was it actually superior? Because a lot of times you go to the store, right?
Yes, it was actually superior. It had that weird weave.
It's like a lot of times you'll go to like the sporting goods store and they'll be like, buy this tennis racket. And they'll be like, look at how much fancy shit it is. It's so expensive. It must be better. And it's like, no, actually, it's just a bunch of gimmicky nonsense they're using to trick you into spending a lot more money on a tennis racket.
So I had a racquetball racket that was just too big to be legal. It was just bigger.
Well, just bigger is just better, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's no question about that.
But then my dad was like, oh, no. And then he made me play with like an old school racquetball racket.
Wooden one?
Yeah, like the ones that are like that big.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
Granted,
even with my cheating racket, he could still beat me trivially, even if he had the shit racket.
Listen, the older you are, you don't even have to know what racquetball is. If you just get old, your racquetball skill increases exponentially.
Yep. If you're a man and you're over 50, you'll stand in the middle of a racquetball tournament and just beat people, even if you don't realize you're there.
Yep.
Like you'll wake up in a racquetball tournament, like what? Where am I? And you're at the top of the ladder.
Exactly. And the next thing you know, you're standing in the shower room, completely naked with all the other old men. You got one leg up on the bench.
Up the one leg.
Airing out the junk. Chatting up about, hey, did you see that? And that's where it goes.
Yep, that's the life. I'm looking forward to those days.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be good days.
You can enjoy those days alone.
Yeah, but seriously, like skiing, because I ski a lot. Skiing is a big part of my life, and the technology of skiing has literally changed the sport in a way to where skiing 20 years ago is unrecognizable to skiing today. If you took someone from today, put them in skis from 20 years ago and said ski, they would probably die.
Well, it's the same. It keeps coming back on the internet over and over again. The one comparing the Olympic vault from a long time ago to today. And it's like in the old vault, it's like the lady runs, jumps, flips once over the vault and lands. And now it's like spin, land, right? And it's the same level of develop. That's such an easy visualization to show how much development there has been in that sport. But pretty much every other sport has developed just as much in that same time period.
Well, think of this. There's a turn called a stem Christie, and there's all these turns in skiing, which basically involve like skidding and like twisting and throwing the back end of your skis out. But there's a turn called the carving turn, which you can really only do the way that people do it today with modern skis that have a special shape that no one made skis like that a long time ago. So I can turn in ways that were literally impossible when I was learning how to ski when I was young. Mm-hmm. And also the binding technology has changed so much that, I mean, look at the old stereotype of skiing. It's ridiculously dangerous.
It still is.
Well, no, it really isn't. Skiing, I actually found some statistics. Skiing deaths per 1,000 skiers are pretty low and comparable to
going
similar
to the
sports.
hospital in critical condition but not dying?
That counts as a casualty.
How about breaking a leg?
Actually, not super common.
Breaking anything?
I broke a nail once.
Breaking a bone.
I'll put it this way. In the old days, skiing was so dangerous. And what was the stereotype? Watch any movie about skiing. There's always the guy in like a full leg cast sitting in the lodge by the fire. That's like every ski movie had that thing.
Not gonna go skiing.
That doesn't happen nearly as much anymore. Skiing.
You're telling me that when you were at the ski lodge last, there was not a guy there in traction?
There was not.
You sure?
I am 100% sure.
Maybe he was taking a nap.
And one way I was talking to an old timer, like this guy's been skiing at this mountain for like 40 years. And he was talking about how there's a run on the back mountain that in the old days, only the most expert pro in the world could even get down it because it's just this icy, cliffy bullshit. Mm-hmm. But today, with modern skis, I can ski down that thing. And he was like, yeah, the modern skis opened up all these trails that in the old days, like only super pros could go on. The technology literally made trails that used to be considered expert trails become like a normal trail that a good skier would ski on.
Mm. So it's, when you tend to think about technology improving like sports, right, you tend to think about the equipment you use for the sport, things we've been talking about, rackets, skis, uniforms, bathing suits, golf clubs, right? There's a lot of technology you can use to improve at a sport that doesn't actually get used on the field. I just read an article about how some of the skiers were using wind tunnels, right, to optimize their skiing before going to the Olympics, right? And it's like, footballs, right? American footballs. They used to, in the olden days, take pictures of the field with a photo camera, develop the photo, right, with chemicals, put it on a clothespin on a rope with pulleys and wheel it down this giant clothesline from the top of the stadium to the coach at the sideline. Nowadays, they take the picture and it's digital, and then the coach can see it on print it out and look at it, right, to see what's going on.
Now, imagine how much sports change if you have access to that kind of technology.
Right. People were talking about how, basketball, they might let them have tablets or something on this.
Yep, there's a big talk about changing basketball. They might have already done it. I don't follow too closely. To give the coaches access to a lot more data live at the games.
Right, so it's theoretically possible. You could develop a technology to where, when you shoot in basketball, right, it's in the air for about a second or so. It doesn't, fly through the air like bam, right? It's going like, it goes up and then down and then in the hoop, right? You could have a camera set up that would be looking at the basketball, right? Figure out its trajectory, and the camera plus a computer would know immediately after the ball was released from a player's hands whether that was going to be a swoosh, bounce off the rim and rebound, be an air ball, whatever.
And if rebound, what direction?
Right. So the coach sitting there looking at his tablet, as soon as someone takes a shot, he could look, and it would tell him with enough time to yell out like rebound. And then the players would know how to react to that.
But both coaches would have access to the same technology.
And the only way to communicate that to the players would be to yell it out.
Now, what if you let the players have displays somehow?
Google Glass?
Yeah, like some equivalent of that, to where
you would just get hurt using that.
Well, what if they designed one that wouldn't hurt? Imagine if every time you shot, it's like as you're shooting, like you're going up, it shows the projected trajectory, and if you make subtle movements to your wrist, it changes the projection. Mm-hmm. So you know if it's going to go in. Or even even forget that, not in the game, in training. What if in tennis, you have a device on your arm and a camera and all these things that every time you serve, it makes noises and gives you immediate feedback as to how effective your serve was to allow you to train your body's muscle memory to always give a perfect serve.
You toss the ball up in the air and it beeps at the moment you should have made contact with the ball.
Yep, or it makes a noise like to kind of give you the motion and the timing and everything.
Yep.
So, two things. One, having that technology to train will make you a very effective player. Two, what if you could use that technology during the game? That's like in drag racing, which I think is a stupid sport. I think it's a great competition for engineers, but as a sport with a human in the car, I think it's dumb.
Right, but
because basically a computer just says shift, 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 shift.
Yep.
It tells you when to shift. The human just goes
That's
click.
what it is, right? Is that the more, if you use technology to like figure out what to do beforehand, like NFL film study, right? That's just figuring out strategies and stuff. I mean, I even do that for Netrunner. I'm like studying, watching people's games and people do it, right? But the more you use that during the game, basically what ends up happening is it's less and less a battle of humans and a battle of computers. It's, all right, my computer is really doing all the work, but it's controlling this human. So we need humans that are really good at being controlled by computers, which is not hard, DDR.
Yeah,
right?
yep.
And then it becomes which computer is better, and maybe a tiny fraction of it is which human is better at being controlled by the computer, which is making all the decisions because it's better at making those decisions than a human can and faster, right? So like eventually, like if you had an athlete with the computer was making all the decisions and the computer was just better and perfect, it's not you would basically it's going faster than your reaction time. So you basically have to not react and just sort of be able to like give up your will and allow the computer to control you.
But at that point, now you're relying upon the failings of that individual human, so breeding technology and genetics become important again. Mm-hmm. Or, fuck it, why even have the human involved?
Yeah, it's just robot battle. That's really, and it's like, we've had BattleBots, which isn't that exciting.
BattleBots is actually kind of shit. Like I've always,
it's
the idea is cool, but BattleBots is always implemented with so many restrictions, and the contests are always so lame. I want to see a BattleBots that's basically
you make any bot you want, and you make any bot you want.
You want to put guns in there? Fine. How much ammo do you carry? Go fucking nuts.
Right. You want to, it's like just do whatever.
My bot is just a whole bunch of bombs.
Your bot has to survive those bombs.
Yeah, it just rolls bombs out. It can deal with up to 10 bots.
Bowling ball candle.
It's got 10 bowling ball candle bombs.
It's a 20-round turn.
I have N plus 1 bombs, N being the number of rounds.
Yeah, good luck. But yeah, I want to see, it's like I kind of want to see computer versus computer.
I want to see
sport.
F1 races, like those same size cars.
The cars have to drive themselves.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars.
But
go.
same size cars, same tracks, and maybe even some rules.
But if it's a self-driving car, you don't care about safety anymore, so just make the cars no rules. It has to be a 4-wheeled, motorized vehicle with some sort of power
I would like
source.
a restriction that they have to be above a certain size, just so they're big and interesting.
Of course, yeah, it has to be above a certain
Otherwise,
size.
I have this tiny little rocket car that goes, whew.
Well, I think you can have a weight limit, right? It has to weigh at least X.
Maybe even do something cool, like have a fake human that you put in there, and there is a secondary rule of that fake human can't get destroyed by the end. Like, protect the egg. That could make it more interesting.
Maybe.
You just have this...
But imagine how lame it would be. You're watching this sport on TV, and it's like, oh, the red car lost. The fake human thing inside got hurt. Oh.
No, because you get the video of the fake human thing, like, exploding in the shower of blood and fake gore.
Like, its head would shake back and forth. You'd be like, oh, he's got whiplash. Technically, the sensor says he would be in a coma right now.
Yeah, well, fine. You know what? Then trigger it. If you kill the human, your car blows up.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking explosions make everything better.
Even with technology, competition is only fun if there are arbitrary constraints of some kind. I mean, otherwise, I kidnap your robot engineer the night before and make him put a virus in. I mean, you've got to have some constraints.
I mean, really what this all comes down to is the old nerd versus jock battle. And if we can turn every sport into actually something where the engineers are what matters and not the athletes.
And football is already real close to that.
Then we can just eliminate all jocks and nerds rule everything. Because you'll be like high school football, right? Will be a robot battle. So it'll be all programmers in the high school football team, right? High school basketball team, also full of programmers. We won't need to separate men's and women's sports at all because it's just engineers.
Now, what's interesting is that in non-competitive sports or non-professional sports, like skiing for me, like ski races will have some arbitrary rules about things, but me as a skier, I will use the level of technology that makes my experience the most enjoyable. Maybe I want a challenge and I use like not as good as skis and I try to ski like particular courses.
Yeah, get killed, yeah.
Or maybe I use things that wouldn't be allowed in a tournament because it makes skiing more pleasant for me. I mean, there's biking too. Like, I could get a bike that would not be allowed in the Tour de France.
I see people with them all the goddamn time in the city.
And it'd be really fucking awesome for certain kinds of biking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I wanted to bike, I don't know, to Florida, I'd probably get one of those cheating goddamn bikes.
You couldn't really carry anything on it.
Yeah, if I biked to Florida, I would do the stop at a hotel every night bike.
You would do the someone drives behind you in a car situation?
Or I would do the stop at a hotel every night.
Where are you keeping your clothing?
I'd wash it in the hotel that night.
And you'd be naked.
Okay, fine. I carry one extra set of clothing.
Where?
Scott, it'd be all like Lycra, so I just roll it up and put it into my jacket.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Everything you have is in those 3 pouches in the back of the jersey.
I could put clothes that would pass the legal definition of clothing in those pockets, along with my wallet,
you know what?
keys, and cell phone.
It would be like those, what's it called? The T-shirts at Muji. Where
oh, yeah, they come in that tiny cube.
Come in a tiny cube.
I like how those things are so wrinkled from the cube that you can never unwrinkle them.
You can. A lot of hard work.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to. That's the style.
Yeah, I know. But
no, that's why I bought all those.
Them at the dry cleaner.
That's why I bought all those Heat Tech and those Lycra like compression shirts. They're so tiny. I could fit like 400 of them in my suitcase if I wanted to.
Don't do that.
Why not? It doesn't affect you. I should make Geeknight shirts like that.
Do whatever you're gonna do. All right. Do we have anything else? I mean,
I don't know. You guys have any questions about this stuff?
I'm just really hungry.
I'm also really hungry.
And it's getting 7:00.
Oh, now they know when we do the show.
In what time zone?
No. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.